Mm. Ginseng is by far the world's most recognized herb, and that's why for the last several thousand years in China, it's been known as the king of herbs. Hello kindred longevity lifestyle designers, this is Zach here, secretsoflongevity.com. The name ginseng is used in two different ways at this point in time. The first way would be the sort of general botanical classification of things. So this is a class of plants, and it's a family, and the term panax, or the Latin name panax, which would be a prefix to another Latin name, is used to sort of classify these plants that are in the same family. Panax is originally, or comes originally from the Greek word panikos, which is meant cure-all, or panacea. And it definitely is that. Ginsengs have been known to be whole-body tonics, and anything that falls into this class of plants generally has those properties to it. The other term that people are using when they say ginseng is they're speaking about any herb that has properties similar to ginseng, and that would be whole-body tonic type properties. So you hear about Siberian ginseng, which is not in the same family. You hear about Peruvian ginseng, which is maca, which is not in the same family. And these are all roots, and they have tonic properties and could be used in similar ways to ginseng, but they're not botanically related. So the actual family of ginsengs, there's a variety of them, but we're just going to talk about two main ones today. So there's the traditional ginseng, which comes from China, which is known as Panax ginseng. And this is a very strong herb. I mean, all forms of ginseng are, but this is particularly yang, meaning it's very, has a fiery, warming energy to it, and it has the ability to increase testosterone levels in people who take it, and it increases energy, decreases fatigue, eliminates stress, and so it's very building to the adrenals. And all ginsengs have the properties of working on all three treasures. So there's very few herbs that do that. Another one would be like reishi, another one would be mucuna. They have this property of working on the jing, qi, and shen, which is sort of the three levels of energy that we want to have all in balance and strong and fortified to be in really good health. Now, despite this, it definitely has its reputation as a qi tonic. And if you were to get different varieties of ginseng or wild ginseng, it might be more shen, it might be more jing oriented to what it builds. But generally speaking, we call ginsengs qi tonics. So they're very building to the energy, they build the immune system, they help the lungs. And at this point in time during the year, I'm recording this the day before fall equinox. The fall is known in Chinese medicine to be the season of the metal element. And the metal element is connected with the lungs and the immune system and the large intestine, and these things need to be bolstered in a way. They don't need to be, but it helps to bolster them and give them attention during the season that they're at their most prominent. So if you think about it, people in the fall, they're susceptible to colds. That's getting further on in the fall. So if you start at this point, starting to build your immune system and your energy with qi tonics, it could be ginseng, it could be astragalus, it could be cotinopsis root, or anything else that has that energy building quality without being stimulatory and detracting from the adrenals in a sort of caffeine-like way that, you know, other fake stimulants would do. Ginseng and these other herbs are going to build up these qualities in you to move into winter with more fortitude, and it just brings a good rounding out for the whole year. That doesn't mean you can't use them at any time of year, but this would be a time of year that you want to take special attention towards building the qi in your body. So Panax ginseng, again, that's that Chinese variety, and it can also grow in Korea. There's definitely more than one variety of ginseng from those areas, but they have this more yang, fiery, warming quality, and they're often said to be best suited for people 40 and over. I've experimented with ginseng, the more fiery types of ginseng myself, but it's not something I would do regularly at being less than 40. So it's something to keep in mind. Perhaps if you have a specific deficiency of being able to produce testosterone, or you're working with an herbalist and they specifically prescribe you to be taking that for whatever period of time, then that would be a reason to take it. But otherwise, you're going to want to be looking more to the American ginseng if you're looking to take a ginseng. American ginseng, which is known as Panax quinquefolius, don't know if I'm pronouncing that last word correctly or not, but it is a much cooler herb, and it doesn't have as a stimulatory effect on testosterone. And it actually has, or is said to have, estrogenic effects. However, that's a bit in question. It definitely has phytoestrogens in it, but they're not as potent as certain other things like soy or flax or these other things that definitely do move you towards estrogenic dominance, whereas this actually has the ability to bind to estrogen receptors and possibly reduce your risk of cancer, and it also has ginsenosides that work on cancer more specifically. So American ginseng is actually a great choice if you're working with an herbalist or doctor and they approve it. If you have any disease such as cancer, it's also great for diabetes. It has an ability to lower insulin resistance and allows post-meal glucose to be absorbed into the cells more readily. So that's shown by lowered insulin and blood glucose after meals. And I'll show you what they look like, the roots here. These are 3 to 4 year old roots, certified organic. They're not whole roots, they're just sort of the sticks of them that have been chopped up. Sometimes you can get roots that are whole in terms of having all of the offshoots, and generally that's still got the essence of being a whole thing, and if you were to take that whole root and boil it or make your own extract out of it, that could have sort of a more Shen effect because it's still in that whole state, and there's sort of a essence or spirit of ginseng that's talked about, and that could be American or Chinese or Korean. If it was in the whole shape and it was sort of looking like a person, the closer it looks like to a whole man, because sometimes the root will look like a body with 2 legs and 2 arms and even a little head, then it's said to be more potent for the individual taking it, and they should use it in its whole state. But for the medicinal effects, you can definitely just take any roots that you are able to get a hold of and brew them in tea, make tinctures out of them. I like to chew on them raw. Well, they're technically not raw, they've probably been steamed or heated at some point, but they can chew on them and just consume them that way. They're not like a green herb or any other tough root or bark where you definitely need to expose them to high heat or alcohol to extract nutrients. You can consume these as is. It definitely is probably on a long-term basis better to do them in a tea form or mix them into food. That's another way traditionally tonic herbs have been consumed. Putting them into porridge type dishes or in with meat when it's cooking, and when it's consumed with that, you pair up the type of food that you're eating it with so that they have sort of a balancing effect on that food that pairs well with the herb. Great in soups as well. So ginsengs have a very unique flavor to them. It's very, some people call it acrid or bitter. I guess acrid's a better word, but it also has a sweet flavor. So it's not unpleasant. Some people might find it unpleasant at first, but you get used to it and you start to associate the good feelings you get from consuming ginseng with the flavor, and you no longer dislike the flavor if you happen to dislike it at the start. It's kind of interesting. That's just been my personal experience. So there's a number of properties about ginseng I could go into. It's very extensive, but if you're really drawn to know more about ginseng, that would be something you could do on your own time. There's tons and tons of studies on it. Been one of the most researched herbs in history, along with things like ginkgo biloba and probably certain spices, turmeric, ginger. But there's a lot of information out there. It's definitely been shown to be a whole body tonic, very immune supportive, building to the lungs, and another thing to note is that American ginseng is a potent lung yin tonic, which is very building to that more yin side of it, whereas the Chinese and Korean ginsengs are more lung yang. So if you happen to have any issues with skin problems, eczema, any sort of breakouts, the hotter ginsengs might be very exacerbating to skin disorders. I remember many years ago I had eczema on my face, and ginseng caused it to exacerbate. And at one point I got some American ginseng, and it was part of the whole protocol I was doing, which eventually got rid of the eczema on my face. So that's my own testimonial of a benefit I got from specifically American ginseng. So there's a lot of history and lore around ginseng. The Canadian and US American ginsengs have been used by Native Americans for the same purposes that the Chinese have used the Chinese and Korean ginsengs for thousands of years. And that's for a tonic effect. This is something that brings all the systems of the body into balance, and it's just a wonderful thing to bring into your life here and there. You don't need to be doing it every day all the time, but some people do choose to do that at a certain point in life if that's or if that really works for them. So for healthy adrenals, immunomodulatory effects, meaning bringing the immune system into balance, not just raising it and jacking it up, but bringing it into balance. It could be too high, and certain effects of the immune system would need to be brought down. Other parts of the immune system need to be brought up, because the immune system isn't one thing, it's like a whole host of different systems working in concert. So you want to be able to bring those into balance, and those are really some of the major functions of the body, and when those are in balance, then everything else starts to function in a much more improved way. If you want to try some ginseng out, a great place to get it at a decent price as certified organic ginseng is at the link below. And you just have to pay special attention when you're looking through the list there, that you look for the origin. The American ginseng is going to say origin Canada. The Chinese ginseng will say origin China. And also the Chinese ginseng says red ginseng in the title of it. But they're all around the same area, and they're kind of mixed up there. So you can check that out. Like and favorite this video if you like what I'm saying, and comment below if you've had experience with ginseng. And with that, take care and embrace life without limits.